friends. Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another fabulous episode on the Color of Money podcast. So excited today. I got my big brothers, Bo and Emerick, with me. And most importantly, I like to call him my son. He's my son from another mother, Montaz McCray. You all are not going to want to miss this. So if you're tuning in, pull over to the side of the road. If you're in the car, turn it up louder. If you want to walk, do what you got to do. But you've got to hear what Montaz McCray has to say. He's been on the Color of Money podcast before. We had him on over a year ago, and he talked about being a rookie real estate agent. He was like this knock it out of the park, brand new real estate agent, rookie of the year, killed all the numbers, was killing the game. And he came on, he had tuned on, I remember, from his car, if you remember that. He was in his car because he was on the go. But he has done some amazing things since then. I'm talking about amazing things since then, including finishing his first year of law school. So Montaz is on to talk to us today about running a real estate business, building wealth, all the properties he owns, and most importantly, his journey into this law school venture. So welcome, Montaz. Thanks for coming back.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is an amazing platform. Just seeing how the platform has grown and all of the amazing speakers week after week. Again, I'm just feeling extremely honored right now.
Well, it's so awesome to have you back, Montaz. As we dig in, can you share with us a little bit about, what actually has happened since we last talked? We talked a little bit about steps you've made in two dimensions. Maybe we start with the wealth building dimension, because I know that has always been a focus of yours. One thing that amazes me about this guy is so many people are not thinking this strategically in their lives that are, twice his age. And so he started out thinking very strategically. So can you tell us a little bit about your wealth building journey and just what you've done over the last, year or so in that space?
Absolutely. So, Bo, it's crazy, that you're asking me that, because I just remember running into you at an event and we had a brief conversation and, we talked about wealth building and team building. And you told me, or you shared with me the principles of I do, we do, and they do. So I think that's just been instrumental in my transition into building a bigger business and bigger life, because yes, it was I do at first in my sales business, and then bringing on a virtual assistant and operations manager, and it became we do, because we were in the trenches together, and now they do. So I'm in the stages of we do / they do, because, it's not an overnight process, but I've been able to, leverage myself in certain areas, and also in the investment category, wealth building category. It's a we do effort, because I have a partner that I own 7 properties with. So I own 10 properties in total. But in that, we do category, I have a partner that, we choose properties together. He more so handles the construction aspect and managing the day-to-day, but I'm finding the properties, doing the analytics. So I really just think in that wealth building process, what I found is that leveraging yourself is instrumental. Leverage is instrumental.
Did you have a goal? Is there something as you started to move down that process, do you set a goal? Do you think about it on an annual basis, or do you just out there looking at when stuff comes up?
Out there looking when stuff comes up. And I think that the most paramount thing, that I have done, and again, you mentioned that you did the same thing on your previous episodes, is living below your means. So when opportunities are presented to you, you are able to take advantage of them because you have extra capital, and I'm not living house poor. So, I'll give you an example. I had at one point, I wanted to move to Columbia, Maryland. I wanted this new house, and, everything was amazing. But the mortgage was $4,000 a month. And so I did that for a year, and I just realized, oh my God, this doesn't make any sense. And then I found other means of housing, and I cut my housing bill down to $2,000 a month, and down to $2,000 a month. And it just allowed me to take advantage of other opportunities. So again, lifestyle creep is real, especially in this business where money is coming in fast.
So wait a minute, Montaz. So are you still driving that fancy car that you did the interview in the last time we talked to you?
No, I'm actually not. I'm actually not, because a Range Rover, everything is expensive these days. I feel
Yeah,
like,
it is.
a nice Range Rover is 1,500 or 1,600. I really wanted to. I got my monthly expenses, less than 3,500 a month,
Nice.
and yeah, and I have an investment vehicle that I have like a nice amount of capital stored in, like a high yield savings account that's paying me close to that. So now it's kind of like, it's neutralizing closely what my monthly expenses are. So that's what a lot of people don't understand. And it just allows for a different kind of living. Like, yes, I'm gonna sell houses every month, but I don't feel like I'm not super, super stressed. And it's a different type of way that you can advise your clients when you're not super, super stressed. They see that I actually really want what's best for them. They see that I can really be an advocate because I'm not worried about, if this deal doesn't close next month, I can't put food on my table. It was that way when I first got started for a year or so, but I saved my money, right? So it didn't have to always be that way.
Well, Montaz, I'm listening to this and the whole thing with the Range Rover and the house. That's called West Baltimore aspirational living. and y'all laughing, and he knows what I'm talking about because both of us are from West Baltimore. And you start to figure those things out, and you really understand what's not important and what is important, because if you keep going in that direction, you might find yourself living back in West Baltimore, and that's not the real option. And so just the way that you've been moving, and I watched you. We sat down and we talked. What's next on the investment path for you?
Yeah. So, of course, real estate investments, investing in your business through leverage, because again, you can't really beat investing in your business. I'm always looking at different ancillary income streams because, again, I'm always referencing Bo and Kimber. They talked about prior, like, who are you doing business with constantly and how can you potentially get into business with them because you're already doing so much business with these particular individuals. I've also, as of late, I decided to go to law school as well. I guess that was my most like ambitious thing I decided to do. My own mother was like, I believe in you, but are you sure? When your mom questions you, it's kind of like,
Make you stop a little bit, back up.
And then come to find out, so I'm in a class of 206 other students. I was ranked number 2 out of all of them. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so a year has transpired, and my mom, she told me, she was like, son, I really didn't think you could do it, but you surprised me with this one. I'm like, Mom, you're not supposed to say that. Because I really thought you believed in me. But I mean, I guess she believes now, so it's fine. It's fine.
You made her a believer. Yeah.
Man. So tell us a little bit about that. Here you are, very young age, having a lot of success in real estate. Like, what inspired you to go back to law school?
So I'm a nerd at heart. I love learning. I think that's what really helped me in real estate because I would look at all the Jeff Glover trainings, all the Tom Ferry trainings, listen to all like, Bo, Menkiti, and Kimber when you guys used to talk about wealth building, again, going to mega camp and family reunion.
Wait a minute. They didn't used to talk about it. They still talk about it.
Well,
Julia.
They still talk about it. But just always being a sponge, always wanting to learn. And so when I went on listing appointments, I'm doing it verbatim and everything is just flowing. So again, I just say all that to say I love to learn. So I know I'm probably not regular in that regard. But I'm just like, hey, how can I understand property law and contract law to raise the level of service that I give my clients. Now, I'm not giving them legal advice, but just my background studying all of these cases and being as though the real estate space has become increasingly litigious over the last few years, and there's been some situations arising, just being able to effectively communicate and advocate for them in some regards.
Well, when you talk about that, and we talked about that before, as far as just your direction with law, what's the end goal? I know you said ancillary businesses, serve your clients better. Okay, 15 years from now, and you'll be 40. A whole 40. What does that mean, being a lawyer and what does that look like for you?
Definitely probably fast forward being a real estate attorney and having a real estate team as well and ancillary businesses surrounded around that. But this is another point I want to put out there, because a lot of people say, oh, I want a luxury sales business, or I want to, sell all of these luxury homes. But the first thing you have to think of is how. What environments are you placing yourself in to sell these homes? So, for example, I am in a class of 206 other future attorneys. The big law salary for a graduating attorney is $225,000. My professors, they're esteemed attorneys. We're constantly bringing in speakers, and we're going to law firms to meet with partners that are making $1 million a year at law firms. Mid-level associates making $500,000 a year. So what does that mean? Now, this is my direct network. My direct network are high income earners. Now majority of the people that I'll know in a few years will be attorneys that will automatically have some type of trust or rapport with me, because maybe we graduated from the same school, or maybe we were in, Boston, for example, was the Black Law School Student Association. I just got a referral from a young lady that I go to law school with. So I'm cultivating a farm of people that can, if I want to, build a purely luxury business of people who can buy luxury homes. So I just think that's an important point, because again, I didn't grow up in the money. If you didn't grow up in the money, like it would be a little bit easier, because that's just your immediate network. But now I'm essentially, it's a different process, but I'm farming a bigger business. I'm playing the long game, essentially.
How has that idea of what environments you put yourself in been impactful in your journey? So it seems like there's a real intentionality around that for you. So how have you thought about that? How you thought about honoring the environments you come from, but also being astute about what environments you put yourself in?
Yeah. So always want to give back. I always, like, even on Instagram, TikTok, I'm sharing information, but I need to feed my mind and feed, my soul. So for example, it was important for me. I was super, super tired. But I'm like, I did not want another impromptu trip. But you know what? I went to Austin for a little over 24 hours to attend Gary Keller's top 100 individual mastermind. And that fed my soul, right? Because I'm at dinner and, we're talking about wealth building tips. And one gentleman, his take on it, he was like, hey, I only buy my cars in cash. And the last car that I just bought was a Maserati. Not a Maserati. It was a Lamborghini. And he bought it for $300,000. Not saying that I want to do that, right? But it just shows me that there's a different level of living. There's different markers that can still be met. I am not there yet. And then also it was just nice to hear like what everyone else was doing in their business. So surrounding myself in environments where I don't know a lot of people who have, some of my friends don't even have $350,000 houses. Let alone to be able to, spend $330,000 cash on a car. So stuff like that just kind of shows me that it's different levels. You need to keep working hard, and it's just different things. It's not all about money. It's not all about material things, but it just shows me what's possible and what's out there. Because if you don't know that it's possible, you just don't know.
Did you always believe all this was possible?
I would say my parents, they did an amazing job of, like, they took us on like great vacations when we were younger. My parents, they loved me to death. My father, he was at every basketball game. And, I just remember him being there. And my dad always told me, like, people will pay for what you have, right? People will pay for how diligent you are. So my dad always encouraged me, and, they did great jobs of taking us on trips, but going to GK's top 100 and casually walking past someone who owns a $20 million home, like, it's it's just, it's different, right? To know like it's possible.
Right. And I think when you start having that conversation, coming from the space that you've come from, it's not that you want the $20 million home. You just know that it's possible. And you're sitting in that room with those people who operate that way. And it's another one of those aspirational things where say, if that's what I choose to do, then that's a great direction for me to go. I can't see you buying that $20 million home at this point, but it's just one of those things that you having a conversation, and that's the reason, that's the way you get to where you want to go, is you have those conversations with the people who are in that space, and it helps ground you to understand that it's doable.
Is it possible for us to talk a little bit more about this journey into real estate? Because Montaz, you're what we would just simply call a high achiever, right? There's some people that just are high achieving people. No matter where they go, they do exceptionally well. Before we actually went live on the podcast, you and Bo were kind of having an interesting conversation about really the driver behind it, because we know everything starts with mindset, but I think it was kind of interesting to me where you all were going with that. But what had you asked him? I'd love the people to hear.
I asked Montaz what voice he was trying to quiet, what thing he was trying to answer, because it's been my experience that people that show that level of achievement, level of drive, he was explaining that like there was people questioning even after everything he's accomplished. I mean, this is amazing accomplishments in a very short period of time, like unheard of, and yet he was describing wanting to go to law school as answering to critics that were still questioning, was it earned? Had he earned it? Did he actually achieve it? And so what I heard was, and I should let him answer it, but like what I heard was like, oh, I'm actually still trying to answer this voice, and I'm still proving something, right, to himself as much as to anybody else. And so the question was what is that thing that you're trying to answer, or you're trying to solve, or you're trying to quiet, or you're trying to shut up, maybe, that is speaking in your mind?
It's tough because this summer has been a big reflection point for me, because I try to, as much as I want to achieve more, I'm personally working on just making sure I can stop and smell the roses and just be grateful for what God has done thus far, because it's, I'm grateful, and it's been a lot. So I'm working on myself in the sense of, again, you don't have to prove anything to anyone, because there's always going to be something else that somebody is going to say. It's just human nature. But yes, I think, naturally there was a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I've just heard you hear the wildest things about yourself sometimes coming back to them. Like, I heard that, I had super rich parents and they just gave me all the leads and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, my parents are from West Baltimore. Like, my father is from, Walbrook Junction. My mother is from Emerson. It wasn't like, it just fell in my lap. They weren't in real estate prior. I really did have to work. I had to learn the language of building a real estate sales business. And also I had to learn, I had to possess a certain level of cadence and decorum to carry myself serving some of these higher level clients, because some of my clients were doctors, lawyers. Again, I service everyday people as well, but some of them clients in particularly, I had to really learn how to speak their language, especially as a 21 or 22-year-old or 23-year-old professional. It is very, very difficult, because there's already a preconceived notion that that you lack experience. So, it was very difficult. But again, people are always going to have something to say. And like I said, working on, waking up, sometimes having a slow morning and creating my gratitude list. Man, I am so, just being thankful for all the things that I've accomplished thus far.
So how do you balance gratitude with aspiration? Because people who are simply and fully satiated don't wake up every day and grind.
Okay, back up. Y'all know I represent the average person for the podcast. I ask questions that the average person. Say the word again, Bo. They
The
don't
word
want
is
to do what?
satiated. The word is satiated, Julia.
What does that
and
mean?
That word
What does that mean, Bo?
means full. Means full. So if somebody is fed, if they are full, right?
Yeah.
So there are people. The way I always say it is, there are dogs. There are dogs that hunt because they're hungry and they have no food. And there are dogs that hunt just because they're dogs, because it's in their head. It's their mentality. And so there are people who work when they have nothing. And what you see in front of you today is a young man at a very young age who has a lot and is still working very hard. That means he's not working because he's got to put food on the table. He's not working because he can't afford a shirt or a car or a place to live. He's actually working because there's something in him that's driven to work. And as you hear him, he's trying to balance that with also appreciation and gratitude for that which he has, right? And so there's always, I find it like, I've struggled with this. It's like this balance between, like, I want to be grateful. Like, one of the most powerful questions, we were going to buy a brokerage, and the other brokerage owner was a very religious man. And he made me go to dinner with him and his wife. And I thought he was going to ask me questions about religion. And we had this whole dinner, beautiful dinner. Still hasn't asked me any like tough questions. I knew he would set this dinner up just to ask me a tough question. And we get right to the end, and we just finished dessert. And he says, Bo, I really wanted you to be here with me and my wife because I had a really important question for you. And I was like, oh no, here it comes. It's like, what's enough? What's enough? What's enough for you? And he just left it there for me to answer. So I guess my question for you, Montaz, is like, what's that thing that keeps you pushing? And how would you know there's enough? How would you know you've achieved everything that you don't have to achieve anymore? That you don't have anything else to prove? Like, how'd you know that there's enough? That it was enough?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I think at some point it shifts to service, right? And now I've been able to think about, like, how my operations manager / partner, I think about her daughter, right? Like, every day waking up and grinding, because she has a young daughter that she has to provide for. And, I've attained a nice level of success, but, it's not like I'm set for life at this juncture. I still have to, I still have to work. So, I'm being cognizant of that, wealth building. But I think it's really just service and just praying that God blesses me and it can overflow to others, because I just always think, one of my aunts told me, she said, you're really wealthy when you and your friends are competing about how much you're giving away to charities each year. So, and that's something that stuck with me as well, because I do aspire, I do have a heart for the people as well, wanting to help and build up other people, because I know some of the things that I was blessed with, because despite some things, I did come from a 2-parent household, right? So, and I think that's been very instrumental, for me, because they were there and they loved me. So now I'm thinking, like, okay, down the road, how can I maybe help or, create an impact for kids that didn't have that, or where so they can get a male figure in their life and things of that nature, because I know how having my father impacted me. So I only could imagine not, having him to help guide me through this crazy, crazy world, because there's literally so much going on. And I have to speak to myself every day and work on, my mental health as well, because there's so much going on. There's so much other stuff that you could be caught up in, and that's especially, and then talking about in terms of being a product of your environment, just because everybody's environment is different. So, I have, I guess I just say that because I have a philanthropic side as well. And I realized the things that I was blessed with.
This opportunity to give is a huge one, but take me back just to Montaz. Like, what for you? Like, what's the question? Like, what are you trying to answer for you?
What am I
like?
trying?
What will be? Maybe a better way to ask it. What would achieve when you graduate from law school and you're a lawyer? What will that mean to you?
A form of representation, I think. I think just representation. Again, two parents that didn't graduate from college, but they just worked hard. I seen them work hard each and every day. Two amazing entrepreneurs. So I really just again, a form of representation, just letting people know, because at that point I'll be 28 years old. You can do whatever you set your mind to do. And I had some people even trying to talk me out of going to law school, but I've been able to make that work with my team, because through leverage, and I'm still consulting with clients, because again, once you get into the system, it's different ways to make it work. You just have to learn the system and put your head down. But I think a form of representation. There are no other attorneys in my family. So that's big for me, and a way to create generational wealth.
You brought something up where you said people were trying to talk you out of going to law school. And in that space of you being willed the way that you are, I've heard this saying before: it's a vision for you. It's a vision for you that's in your head, and they can't see what you see because God didn't give them your vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just always have to run your course of your vision, because it's your vision. And I can attest to that, because I had the same conversation, like growing up, just opening up a brokerage. The conversation was, why would you open up a brokerage? They don't see what you see. So you have to keep running in your space, in your life, to be who you are, and just know that you got a support team around you.
Montaz, we're asking you all these questions, obviously, but what do you want people to know?
I just want people to know you can do anything that you put your mind to. Real estate is not a one-size-fit-all business, right? You can structure your business however you want to. And I think that's the biggest thing, because I had a bunch of limiting beliefs. I had created all of these like scenarios with my assistant before, I started, my first semester, but everything just fell into place. Everything just worked. My partner, she's amazing. You need amazing people in your world. I guess I would just say, if you're trying to build a big real estate business, you need other talented individuals in your world. And I just was thinking, the way that my business was going anyway, I was going to need to have another second in command anyway, right? Because that's just where it was heading. It was getting it's very tough. That's why some people get out of the business after three or 4 or 5 years, because they don't know how to implement leverage properly. So it was imperative. I'm almost glad that I made this move, because it taught me how to be a better leader. And it was actually an imperative point in my career where I needed to do it, because I'm at like that 4th/5th year point in my career. I've sold over 250 homes for more than 70 million in value. So, I needed to start to make those transitions, like both I mentioned Bo and I's prior conversation. I do, we do, they do. So really getting intentional about what does that look like, and being okay with things not 100% being perfect. But if it was done 80% as good as I would have did it, and I have a high standard of how I run my business, I'm okay with that. But that was just a transition that I had to make as a business owner. And I think a lot of clients, they appreciate, what I do, because in a year or so, in a year and some change or so, they'll have the opportunity to be working with a realtor that sold over 250 homes, and also an attorney, right? Someone who, a practitioner of the law as well. And I think that was instrumental as well for creating a bigger value proposition for myself, especially in a space where, hey, rates are higher right now. People are getting a little bit more stringent on who they hire, because they want to work with the best of the best. They want to make sure they get the best deal and the best form of representation. And, it just adds to the trust factor for some people. Not saying that you have to go to law school to increase your value proposition, but there's so many different ways that you can increase your value proposition. Because I'm always thinking, like, I played 2 years of college basketball. I played basketball my whole life. I had this competitive edge. It's like, how am I going to knock this person out? I want to win. It's like, it may be a friendly competition, but I still want to win. I still want to kick your tail. Like, that's just how I'm wired.
And that's a beautiful thing. One thing you said things kept going and going and going. No, you're making things happen. I believe that a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit to say that we're making it happen. No, you're making it happen. You've taken the time, you've grown the skill, you put the work in, and that's the reason why it's happening for you. It's not just happening. It's not just happening. It's happening because you put the time and the work in. And a lot of times, we as entrepreneurs and new business people, or coming from the background that we come from, we believe that it just happens. No, you just put the work in. No, you're just good. And you have to wear that badge a different way, and that will allow more to open up for you.
You're so right, Emerick, because there's so many people, Montaz, that ain't nothing happening for. There's literally, no, I'm for real. There's a lot of people sitting around don't got a thing happening. And it's because they're waiting for something to happen, right? And that's not how it works. You have to make things happen. So there's a very different mindset that you have then. And I think also we keep saying his age, but particularly, me and my friends, we talk about y'all generation bad. Like, because there's not a lot of Montazes running around there saying, I got to make something happen. I watched at Mother's Day, my niece let her mama pay for her own meal on Mother's Day. I'm just like, what? Where did we go wrong? But so there's not a lot of people out there that are thinking the way you're thinking. They are waiting for something to happen. They are waiting for someone to do something for them. They don't want to put in the work. You're talking about going out of business because they don't have leverage. No, they're going out of business because they don't have business. They're not doing nothing, And so there's a very different mindset that you're leading with than a lot of people out there your age.
Well, they're not doing business. They're doing business. They business people.
They're not doing business or business.
Well, actually, I want to ask a question here about that. So, I always find myself in so many situations where people are asking me to opine on the younger generation in real estate or in work or in business. And I have things I say, Emerick was sharing something that we talk about something now, things we talk about, lots of positives, lots of sort of negatives. I'm interested in what do you think is different about your generation, and especially the way they see both real estate in terms of being like homeowners, and also how people approach work and things like being a realtor. So what do you think is different between, when I was starting out 20 years ago and what people your age are dealing with today in the industry?
I think the biggest thing, social media is very, very, very tough because you're seeing a lot. You're exposed to a lot. You see the 21-year-old who may be purporting to be a real estate millionaire and all of this stuff. And you're seeing all of these people who, and it seemingly seems that they have instant success, but you don't know the work that they had to put out to get whatever they have. Or you don't know if they're faking. I'll give an example.
No, you for real, yeah.
When I bought my Range Rover, I had just graduated from college and I got an offer letter for like $80,000 as an accountant. And my friend, he had just bought a Range Rover as well. We've been friends for about 2-3 years through college. He just pulls up on me in a new Range Rover one day, super beautiful car. And then he's like, well, man, you should get one. You should get one too. Look at mine. We can be twinning. We'll go out together. We'll pull up in our matching Range Rovers. Okay, perfect. I had saved up $30,000, $40,000 because I was waiting tables my entire time through college. So I had a little bit of money and I had that offer letter. So, okay, cool. I went and got my Range Rover. I did not know that his parents was paying half of his payment. So it's like, everything is not what it seems. And of course he wasn't going to tell me that in that moment. He just had a 2023 Range Rover. So again, I just say that to say that everything is not what it seems. So I went and put myself in a financial deficit and leased almost $1,000 car at 21 years old, based on the pretense that my friend is doing it, so I should be able to do it. But no, his parents was help subsidizing it. And same thing with social media. You don't know if they have someone else subsidizing their life or they're really doing it. But on my social media, I really just try to show people listen, I'm doing certain things. Like I don't try to lead with wealth because that's like not really my thing. Like I try not to be like, oh, I made XYZ this month. I made like I don't know. That's not really my style. But I really just try to show this is what I did. This is what it took. It takes hard work just to let people know like I was not an overnight success, contrary to whatever your preconceived notions may be, because I don't want to purport that image.
Right.
I love you saying that, because you of all people embody for people sort of rapid success. And what I'm hearing you say is no. That mindset was back there practicing basketball. That mindset was back there hustling when you were younger. That mindset was waiting tables in college. That mindset was doing a whole bunch of stuff. It didn't just pop up out of nowhere to be successful. So as we get to the end of our time, one of the things we always try to do is bring it back to the amazing listeners we have. It's something that they could take away. So if you think about all the success that you've had and what's really driven that, what would be your one, if you had opportunity to give one or two pieces of advice to listeners here as they go about thinking about their businesses and their lives, what would those be? What would be the two secrets to success?
Yeah.
From your story that you think that translate?
I would say no one succeeds alone. So in reference to that, get a mentor. And then also I would tell, like, especially for my realtors, it's not always the $20 million or $30 million producer that you want to be your mentor in that office. Find that $5 to $10 million producer that's been in the business for 10 years, because they may have a little bit more time to share knowledge with you. And again, think about it. They've been in the business 10 years. They have been in or they've been in the business a significant amount of time, and they may have a little bit more time to coach you, because those are the people that raised me up. Yes, I had some high and buy conversations with the $20 and $30 million producers, but in my KW office, it was really the $5 to $10 million producers that was answering my calls late night when I needed some information. So again, no one succeeds alone, and I'm very, very grateful, to those individuals that helped me when I was starting my career. And then number two, I think just lead with gratitude and service. I tell this a lot when I go to do speaking engagements. My first year, I sold 35 homes. And, again, I was just trying to replace my $80,000 a year salary when I hopped into real estate. And so once I surpassed that after my first year in real estate sales, and I lived a very, very modest lifestyle. Me and my sister lived together. Our mortgage was $1,000. I had the car, but I'm still living for less than $2,000 a month. So didn't change my lifestyle for a while. Didn't go on any vacations. I lived very modestly. And I guess I was just going to say, I think I sold over 60 or 70 homes that second year. And it was because I was able to advise with a per mind. I wasn't thinking about, if this deal doesn't close, I'm not going to be able to put food on my table. That's not a way to be a great sales professional. I don't even really feel like what I'm doing is selling. I'm an advocate. I'm helping you reach whatever goal that you want. But because I was able to be selfless that second year, that transitioned into me doing more than 20 million in volume. Right? Because people could see that I was genuine. And, word of mouth is one of the best forms of attaining new business.
That's good. Well, thank you, Montaz, for being here. I really appreciate you. I always say that, I couldn't call him my son because he favors my late son. He looks so much like him, but and you make me proud. I like to think he would have gone anywhere near as far as you would have gone. So every time I see Montaz, he lets me hug on him all strange. He's like, here she come. But I appreciate you for the representation. You talked about for all the things that people can see. For me, I often talk about how I looked at Bo and Emerick, and that was representation for me. And you are that for so many people, especially them seeing you out there as an influencer on Instagram. But yours is solid. Yours is deep. It's not superficial. It's real. It's legit. And you represent everything that we could be. We're super proud of you. Super proud of you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I say it all the time. You carry the West Baltimore banner well, my friend. I'm super proud to call you a friend and be supportive of you. So,
but we're not that old,
No.
Montaz. Next
Yeah.
time you have one of them parties, we want to come.
Yes, you will all be on the list.
You know what? And I saw it. I was like, I'm a little gray. I could fit in somewhere in the corner.
Well, totally appreciate you. Keep being you, because being you's special, man.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Montaz.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.